Hello friends! Well, things with my health took a rather dramatic turn this week, so I've been trying to take as much time to relax as I possibly can, which of course has meant lots of lunar time. Hopefully I'll be ready to be back on screen soon, but please everyone take the opportunity to have any and all medical screenings that you can, because it really does save lives. This week, my plan was to create some much needed separates for my me-made wardrobe, and luckily I had the perfect pattern. So come along with me as I sew the Charm Patterns Hepburn top. If you have any experience of Gertie and Charm patterns, you'll know that the patterns are teeming with design details and an array of choices, and the Hepburn top is no exception, with 21 possible versions to create. Fantastic! Charm offers tissue paper patterns and PDFs, which are easy to print at home or send to a printer for larger AO style prints. After selecting a size and printing out the pattern onto my A4 paper and sticking the pieces together, it's time to get creating. For my first Hepburn top creation, I'm using this remnant of white sweater fabric. With all the different versions you can create, this pattern is great to use up any remnants of stable knits that you might have lying around. And it's a great occasion for one of my ultimate favourite pastimes, fabric Tetris, fitting all those pattern pieces onto a fabric remnant. My initial plan was to create a short sleeve version with a band collar, but as you can see, there just wasn't enough fabric. And here I am cutting out those pieces. And when I was done, I had this long strip left over, which I decided to use to create some little fold-back self-drafted sleeve cuffs. The cuff pieces are 3 inches wide, and they will create a finished cuff of 1 inch wide, and they're as long as the finished sleeve edge. I began sewing the bodice by stay stitching the front and back necklines to prevent them stretching out. Then it's time to get pinning, starting with the short edge of the sleeve cuffs, then the centre back seam, joining the 2 back pieces. And then pinning the darts on the bodice front. To construct my little cuffs, I start by stitching the short edges together. Then folding this little cuff circle in half widthways with wrong sides together, basting the raw edges closed using a zigzag stitch to create the little cuffs ready to attach later. Keeping that zigzag stitch, I then stitched the centre back seam. Then switching to a straight stitch to sew the darts on the bodice front. Sewing off the edge of the fabric at the tip of the dart, leaving thread tails to tie off for a lovely crisp dart tip. Press those seams, my friends. Honestly, it makes such a difference. Don't skip this step. And now I'm ready to pin and sew the shoulder and side seams. And press those seams again, and while I've got the iron on, I also went ahead and pressed and pinned my hem and neckline before stitching them in place with that narrow zigzag. Then it was time to attach my little self-drafted cuffs, pinning them wrong sides together along the raw edge of the sleeve before zigzag stitching them in place. For my second Hepburn top, I'm sticking with that round neckline. Full disclosure here, I tried the first top on, fell in love with that neckline, and I'm just going to make a load of them now, okay? Right, but this time I'm going to use that band collar that I wanted to use first time round but didn't have enough fabric for. I'm using this beautiful pale blue glittery lurex sweater fabric that I've had in my stash forever from a Minerva sale. As with the first top, I start by stay stitching the neckline. Then sewing the centre back seam. Then on to pinning and sewing the darts on the bodice front. Then sewing those shoulder and side seams. Next, it's time to construct that band collar, one side of which needs to be interfaced. The two band collar pieces are then pinned right sides together along the lower curved edge before being stitched together. After trimming and clipping the seam allowance, understitch, catching the seam on the uninterfaced side of the collar. Before turning the piece right side out and pinning, basting the raw edge closed. This band collar is then pinned all around the neckline, the uninterfaced side to the right side of the bodice, and it has the cutest overlap at the back. Just take a look. The seam allowance is then pinned to the inside and stitched in place before pressing it into place around the neckline. Finally, hem those cuffs and that waistline. For my third and final Hepburn top, I'm creating yet another simple round neckline. Yes, I'm obsessed. But this time, I'm creating the 3/4 length sleeves, and I'm using some gorgeous leopard print Liverpool knit fabric to make it. The pattern on this Liverpool fabric does have some symmetry, so I've done some pattern matching of sorts on the front by folding the fabric through the centre of the pattern. I then use this fold to place my front pattern piece along. The centre of the pattern will then be on the centre front of my top. Sorted. It's then time once again to stay stitch those necklines. And then sew some darts. Next, we're going to stitch that centre back seam. Because I've kept this version nice and simple, there really are only a couple of steps left to finish this top, and this is one reason I really love this pattern, so quick and satisfying. Sew those shoulder and side seams. Hem the neckline, sleeves and waistline. Shall we check out that reveal? I'm beyond ecstatic with these tops, and actually I've already got plans for a few more. I love the neckline on this first top, and it looks super cute tucked into my Audrey pants. Another Charm Patreon creation. The band collar version has become my new favourite sweater. I love the colour of the fabric and the way that it can be styled to look so classic, especially with my full Stanwick skirt here. Yep, you guessed it, another charm pattern. But this sweater looks equally as great dressed more casually, tucked into those Audrey pants. And finally, the leopard Liverpool knit. This took me under an hour to sew. My friends, if you're looking for a way to start adding a vintage look to your me-made wardrobe, or you're even looking at starting to sew, I cannot recommend this pattern enough. It's great, easy and quick, and very beginner friendly. And you'll find a link to the wonderful Charm Patterns website in the description box. But until next week, when we're back to some pattern drafting, I'm going to go and look after myself, and I hope that you'll do the same for yourselves too, my friends. Take care. See you next week. Bye.